Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Steph.
Together we are PD Connect. Our sign got cut off.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks for joining us. And we look taller.
We are taller. Today is the first Monday of the month, and it is our speaker series.
Let's intro Dr. Eric Egli, and we will get started, and he is going to take the floor here. But first, Dr. Eric Egli received a PhD in clinical psychology at the University of Minnesota. His work in Minnesota included providing hospital-based mental health care and working as faculty of a family medicine residency. Eric later moved to California to work at Kaiser as a behavioral medicine specialist. In that role, he collaborated with neurologists and other specialists to help patients and their families cope with the physical and psychological consequences of various disorders, including Parkinson's disease. He retired from Kaiser in 2016 and maintained a private practice in Auburn until November of 2022. He was on the board of Parkinson's Association of Northern California from 2019 to 2023. And we just got to hang out with him this weekend. What a great guy. He also plays the guitar really well, and he doesn't tell me.
Ukulele is really good.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. Welcome. And we appreciate you being here.
Okay, it's my turn, huh? Okay. So you guys don't have to mute yourselves, so you can feed back to me if you want to. It's up to you guys. But anyway, so I'm glad to be speaking with everyone. The topic today has to do with some of the struggles and issues in doing the things that are good for people to do with Parkinson's, which are the same things that are good for people to do anyway. But these are really, they're really important, like things like exercise and such. But the challenge isn't knowing that exercise is good for you. The challenge is doing it. And so I want to back off for a minute and imagine that exercise, just broadly speaking, was not particularly good for you or bad for you or anything like that. It was just what it was. It wasn't good for you to exercise, wasn't bad. It was just there. In that imaginary world, I would say no one would exercise. No, people would take walks, people would play golf, people would take hikes, some people would run, they'd play soccer, they'd play baseball, whatever. They'd be active, but they wouldn't exercise, right? They would just be doing what they enjoyed doing, just like you would do if you built model airplanes or did quilting or woodwork or anything else. It wouldn't be exercise, right? And then, so then many people just don't exercise. Now, if suddenly they're told to start exercising out of the blue and they didn't know about this, now all of a sudden you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? It's not something I do. I don't like to. What do I do? Exercise, it's not something that's just automatic. To know what that means, to know how it goes, to learn to want to do it. Because again, people generally do the things that they want to do or enjoy doing, not what they're told to do. And so what's really important here is bringing up for those who were very, very active exercisers before a Parkinson's diagnosis, hopefully they just stay active and they don't need all this conversation. Or they might, and maybe it's helped them delay the onset or severity, and they can just increase their intensity, and it'll do them even more good. But for those where it's not been part of the routine, it really is a major struggle. And so that brings me to the topic of this conversation. Let me see here. Let me share my screen here and tell you the title of my conversation here. Now I want to play this thing. Whoop, it's not, I need to, here we go. Now I want to play this show, so to speak. Here we go. All right. So the title of this conversation is partly obscured by this thing here, so maybe I shouldn't have it the full screen. But anyway, it's how do I get myself to do something I never wanted to do before, now that it is harder? Because that's the issue here that we're related to. I want to change this screen so it's not, okay, so that I'm not the full screen here. and then I think it'll work better for people to see what's going on. Sorry about the delay here.
No, you're okay. We could see it perfectly.
I think you can see it, but when I had it full screen, it was partly blocked by the pictures of people. So
Oh,
that's
not on our end.
not on yours. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll just go back
Okay.
and do this. So if when you get the diagnosis of Parkinson's, one of the things, what we know is that probably the most important interventions for Parkinson's are not what the doctors can do for you. I mean, they're essential. I'm not going to minimize the medications and the other treatments that they do, but the only thing that we really know can really help reverse some of the symptoms and reduce some of the symptoms and prolong your wellness and prolong your ability to be active and engaged and reduce level of disability through time. Those are things that the doctors don't control. Those are the things that only the person with Parkinson's can. And those two things are the opposite of what's on this screen here. The things that are good that can prolong the wellness and activity level with Parkinson's are activity and socialization. And those are two absolutely key things. They'll say those are sometimes some doctors will call that the most important medicine because it does more than just manage symptoms. But as we all know, it's so easy to say it and so hard to do it if it's not something that you've been doing. And that's the point of this whole talk is, acknowledging that while this is easy to say, it's not necessarily easy to do. And part of the question is why? What's going on here? You can be told that this is going to make a huge difference in your life. You can be nagged about it. The doctor can get on your case about it. But really, how do we really get this going? And so the way I look at it here is there are some really significant barriers or obstacles to really getting into a long-term effective, habitual, and exercise program. And I think if you don't respect the challenges or respect your opponent, whether it's in sports or anything else, if you don't accord it the proper respect, you're likely to lose out to it, right? You don't prepare for it. You don't really look at what you need to do. You take it lightly. We need to really take a look at these barriers. They're not just excuses. People can say, well, I have this excuse or that excuse, but we need to actually look at what it is and really think about them as we struggle to really engage and get a good program in motion. And one of them is simply, it's not me. It's not something I've done. I don't really know how, when, where, what I'd like to do. I don't really feel like doing it. It's not how you identify yourself. People who identify themselves as vigorous exercisers or runners or something, it's part of their self-definition. If it's not your definition, it has to become a new part of your definition of yourself. And that's not always easy to do. Another thing is, sometimes it's this issue of autonomy and control. It's kind of ironic, actually. But when people are told to do something, there's a natural instinct to not do it. To a large degree, especially if so, you need to do this, you need to do that. If I was to tell my wife, you need to go brush your teeth, she'd tell me where to go, right? We protect our autonomy, we protect our control of our lives, we protect our ability to make our own decisions. And sometimes we won't do something that we know we ought to do just because people are insisting that we do it. There is that thing that plays out. And so let's be clear on that. And so if the doctors or people come down on you too hard, or your spouse or somebody else is coming down on you too hard that you've got to do it and you must do it, you may break down once in a while and do it, but it's not going to become part of who you are and what you want to be doing necessarily. Another issue, it is hard. Getting out there and pedaling hard or working out in the gym or whatever it happens to be is difficult. Makes you tired. You have the I don't wannas. Don't wanna. Get off the sofa, get going, go, do your walk. I don't wanna. These are real things, and we need to take a look at what is that all about. Sometimes it can be painful, or you sweat, it's uncomfortable. And there are various barriers here that people, especially if they're not used to it, if it's not part of their routine and their identity, these are all things that kind of come up against. Something else I really want to talk about, which I kind of like an analogy with chemistry here. I had my original degree was biochemistry and biology, but in chemistry, there's a concept called activation energy. And I think it speaks for itself what that might mean. But energy of activation is when you have, say, you have two compounds together that want to react, but they're not reacting. So think of a firecracker. It's loaded up with gunpowder. That gunpowder wants to blow up, right? But it's not doing it. Why? Because you have to put a certain energy input to get the reaction started. That's called activation energy. Yeah, and for a firecracker, that's like a match. That's heat all of a sudden. But once that reaction starts, it goes. But it takes an input to get it started. Okay, and that's one of the barriers that we really struggle with. And Dr. Kandar, who I've worked with a lot at Kaiser, a movement neurologist, talks about apathy. For him, is one of the most vexing and disturbing problems with his people with Parkinson's, because they just don't seem to get going or initiating action. And it's not something he can help with. They'll tell you what to do, but it's up to you to do it. So it's really frustrating. Now, the neurologists like to blame apathy on your neurology, your synapses, your neurotransmitters and all this stuff. And I don't doubt that that's true. But you know what? Everybody out there in the community who knows they should exercise and doesn't has the same darn problem. Maybe not quite as bad, but getting off the sofa, getting going. I've talked about that for years with people, just in terms of health in general. So we need to recognize that there's a reaction or something that maybe once it gets going, we're going to want to do or we'll enjoy it. But the reality is it's difficult to initiate or get that started. And we need to try to understand that and figure out what to do about it. Then the next line I have there that says, what is your catalyst? In chemistry, what a catalyst is, it's another compound in there that doesn't react itself, but it reduces the activation energy. It makes it much more easy to start that reaction. Okay, so they put a catalyst in and it makes these reactions occur more quickly and more easily. And so we need catalysts if we're going to get exercise. And so if we're going to get exercise, what makes it easier for us to get off the sofa? We're going to be talking about that. That's the catalyst. And the energy of activation is how much energy it takes to get going. So a catalyst, just to give some examples, might be if you like a dance class or you have a water aerobics. Are we okay? Okay. Yeah, water aerobics or something. It might be, oh, I'm looking forward to meeting Lisa, or I'm looking forward to seeing how Fred is doing. I want to find out what that, or maybe Joanne always brings cookies. These are catalysts that make it easier to get off the sofa, right? Other things that can catalyze or make it easier to get going is having it be a really clearly established routine, and that you're all set up for, that your life is built around doing it, so you don't have to clear the slate every time. People are in agreement. They're not going to ask you to go shopping when it's time for you to do your whatever your exercise program is. There's a variety of things to be thinking about, but what makes it easier for you to get that going? One thing that I think is worth pointing out is if you don't like exercise, if you don't like doing it, okay, but you're forcing yourself to do it, what can happen is then it feels like the PD is controlling your life. The Parkinson's is making me do something I don't want to be doing, and that ticks you off. That's not going to last very long, very well. At a certain point, you're likely to not do it just to get back at the PD. It can't make me do these things. If I have to do this because the Parkinson's, it's sort of like it almost feels like I'm yielding control instead of doing something I'd rather do. like whether it's, I don't care whether it's watching TV and smoking a cigarette with a beer. If that's what you want to be doing, but you're supposed to be going out and exercising because Parkinson's is telling you so, that that's going to be, to generate some resentment, So I think it's really important to realize that, to flip that around, because ideally we want our activity and our exercise and our socialization to be the way we control the Parkinson's. But if what we're doing is resenting what we're doing for it, it feels like we're yielding control of our life to the Parkinson's. So we just kind of got to flip around to thinking along those lines, and that this is a way that you have more control over what the Parkinson's is doing, not you. But if you're really resenting the activity that you're forced to do, or if people are badgering you to do it, we have to find a way to break out of that. We have to be self-generating. We have to decide, this is something I want to do. And that kind of gets to the next point. Do you really believe it's going to help? I make the point here that doctors tell us things all the time. And I think I've hardly ever met a person with Parkinson's that didn't have a bad experience with a doctor. They missed the diagnosis. They told you something else was going wrong. They didn't follow up with you. They didn't take it seriously. So unfortunately, I think by the time people get into the Parkinson's journey, a lot of people deep inside don't necessarily have the level of faith, I hate to put it this way, in the doctors and the medical system, that in this case, it would be good to have. I think people know what I'm talking about. That, so when we tell you, and when we emphasize that this can really help prolong your wellness, prolong your level of activity, it's a leap of faith, because you're not going to see, other than feeling maybe hopefully better by exercise and everything else, it's a bit of a leap of faith that this is actually prolonging your wellness, that this is slowing down the progression of the Parkinson's. That part of it's kind of a leap of faith. It's important not to do it only for that reason. You need to have something that's reinforcing even while you're doing it, whether it's the socialization, whether you can feel your body is stronger, whether you just get some energy, you discover something new about who you are and what you can do. We want other things, but it's important to kind of be honest with ourselves. How do we feel about this? If I was talking with somebody, I would ask them just explicitly, do you really believe it's going to help you with your Parkinson's? Some people, when they're honest, they're not quite so sure, and we want to kind of talk about that. And other people also, if they're going places, are very self-conscious, self-conscious of their movement, self-conscious of, drooling, self-conscious, maybe they'll freeze, a whole bunch of different reasons why people are afraid. That's one reason why it's nice to do things with a Parkinson's group, like a Rock Steady Boxing or something, because everybody knows what's going on. But not everybody has that, available, or maybe that's not what they want to be doing, and so really confronting, how do you get out there in the public and experience yourself as being okay, and knowing that there may be some things that normally you'd feel self-conscious about. So let me think here. So this is so these are some things I think that are actual barriers. There are certainly other ones that people can come up with or talk about. But I do like to make the point that if a person, say I don't know, I'm just making up a number. Say you're 65 years old. You've been, you've been, walking awkwardly, so maybe some freezing, or maybe your arms aren't swinging and you can't turn as well. You've had some incidents. You get diagnosed with Parkinson's, but you've never been an exerciser. I firmly believe, I think all our physical therapists would agree, that if you at that point, and we've seen many examples, decide, okay, I'm going to take this on in my life. I'm going to start exercising really regularly. I'm going to get social. I'm going to clean up some of the things I'm doing and really get aggressively healthy. You can be healthier than you've ever been, since you were, 22 years old. For the next number of years. You don't really think about it that way. But I know people who get out there and they've started dancing. They never did that. They started running. They never did that. And really they're significantly healthier than they'd been in the preceding number of years. And so it's not like the end of things when the diagnosis happens. Now, of course, the Parkinson's evolves and continues, and we know it can continue to grow and cause problems. But this is the best way we can have to get you out to a better place. And then maybe if you're going down from that better place, you just have a much better life for an extended period of time. And I think it's really important to think about that. Some people, when they really get onto that, discover new things about them, new things about their spouse or loved one that can be very empowering and enjoyable. So there's a lot of back and forth here to be thinking about. I'm going to go to the next slide. Let's see here. There we go. And I'm going to talk about something that's called a stages of change model, which was developed way back in the 70s, but is still used. And I think it's just a way to think about change and how to make change in our life. Just to use an example of smoking, for example, back in the day when no one thought that smoking was bad for you, people weren't trying to quit smoking for the most part. They just smoked. Now, all of a sudden, Surgeon General comes out, it's really bad for you, you're getting cancer and everything else, but you're still smoking. People get into a place where that they refer to as contemplation. I probably ought to quit this sometime. I think I ought to not be doing this. Maybe I should make some changes here. But they're not really, they're not engaged in the change. Preparation happens when you say, okay, I think I need to figure out a way to take this on. What do I do? Do I go to my doctor to ask for some kind of treatment? Do I just start quitting? Do I just throw the pack away and hope I can make it cold turkey, But anyway, making this preparation and action is when you're actually engaged in the change. And so you're going to in this case, action is you're not smoking, but you're still really struggling with it. Okay. And you're gradually reducing how much you're smoking up every day. That's action. Then when you're done, that's what's called maintenance. And we all know that whether it's weight loss or anything else, maintenance really is where things matter. I used to have people say, I can quit anytime. I said, yeah, I know, but for how long? It's if a person needs to quit drinking, it's how do you maintain sobriety? It's not, can you stop drinking for a day or two or a week or a month? How do you maintain your wellness? And then relapse. And one of the good things about this model is that relapse is considered part of the stage of change. Most people, when they start instituting change, don't necessarily know what all the struggles are going to be. They don't know how tough it's going to be. It's like I said before, you don't necessarily know or respect the opponent. You don't know what you're up against sometimes when you're trying to quit or change something. So relapse, if you don't look at relapse as a simple failure, but you look at relapse or a lapse as a learning opportunity, okay, what happened that this didn't work this time? What is it about what I confronted or what was going on that stopped it and stopped me from getting back into it? Because the real trick then is to learn from a slip or lapse or relapse, to learn from it and to get right back into that change cycle. I always say, okay, if you need to beat yourself up for a day or so or a couple of hours, no more than a couple of days, please, because it's not so important that you beat yourself up about a slip or a relapse. It's important that you learn from it and get back onto the cycle of re-engaging with action and maintenance. So this is a worthwhile thing to think about in terms of when you're wanting to engage or get started with a program of activity and exercise. So let's take a look at what I'm just saying here, some steps to success, okay? you want to really, you kind of have to look at your values. What is important and why? I've had some people who, are experiencing this kind of apathy thing. I just don't feel motivated. I don't, I'm kind of enjoying the sofa. I like it that way. But sometimes they might look at their loved one, and the loved one is watching them just decline. So sometimes, my value might be, I want to be here for my wife or my husband or my children. I know that I don't necessarily feel like I really want to be exercising, but something is important to me. It's important to me. Yes, of course you want to feel better. And hopefully if you do get engaged, you do start to feel better. But what kind of gets you going, And I want to see my granddaughter get married, and I want to be able to walk down the aisle, or different things that sort of values and things that are important that help motivate you to decide that I really want to engage with this. Not just because the doctor's telling me, the doctor's not living your life, you are. And so the doctors, you need to decide what is important related to this. We want to honor the challenges. These barriers are not just excuses. They are the barriers. They are the things that you will encounter that can knock you off or send you into relapse. So you want to take a look. You don't just say, I once had a person say, do you, in an interview, do you drink alcohol? Well, of course I do. And I'm an alcoholic. I go, okay, where do we go with this one? But anyway, you can say, I have this problem for this reason, but that just lays out what it is that you're dealing with. That's what you need to be dealing with if you're going to make a change. I would also say that we don't make these changes in a very cavalier way necessarily. I mean, yes, if you decide to engage and sign up for 3 things and you do it and you stick with it, that's wonderful. But for the most part, you need to think, what do I think I really can do? What can I really start off with? You don't have to start off big. It can be fine to start off small and try to build on it. But you want to try to plan realistically. What can I really plan to do? I think I can realistically at least commit myself to taking a half-hour walk 3 days a week, with my wife or my son or my kid or something like that. Whatever it is, think it through. What can I realistically do just to get started? Because in a way, this is sort of the activation energy for the whole program. How do I get started? And if you have this hurdle, like you've been to the seminar and this guy's now running, 10 marathons a year and everything else, you're thinking, that's not me. And if you think that's what you should be doing, I mean, forget it. That builds up that, as we call that, energy of activation. It just doesn't seem accessible or possible. That's a big barrier. So you really need to look at what is something that I think I can do, because every step counts. Just getting started and learning from getting started and learning and exploring some new things, even if that's not how you looked at yourself before, is important. And when it doesn't work, take a look at what didn't work. Was the timing of the day not good for you? Did somebody treat you bad? I don't know. But I mean, was there some, did you not get yourself out of bed in time? Or, I mean, I don't know what it might be, but you want to take a look in your specific case, what interfered with what your plan was? And then how can you accommodate that or make a different plan? If, the clue to actually being successful is to get back at it and to keep trying different ways until you find one that works. It's not how often you relapse or quote, fail. I'm not really like, you could call it fail, but just kind of have a slip. It's not how often you have that. It's how well you learn from it that predicts, ultimate success. Now, as I said before, if you don't find something that you can at least kind of enjoy, and hopefully enjoy a lot, and sometimes it's just the group leader who you think is so much fun to hang out with, their inspiration and all. There's a movement disorder in Kaiser, who from India, who would teach Indian dance, and had a class that she led for Parkinson's, and they loved it. Partly because it's just infectious enthusiasm. You like to be around people like that. So, if we can find that, that really lowers the, the activation energy. That really catalyzes us getting to it. So whatever it is for you, it doesn't have to be a group program. There are advantages to it because there's always going to be people there who hopefully you meet and you like. It accomplishes a socialization goal, but it's not the only way to do it. Whatever you do works, But you want to make sure it can fit in the broader context of your life. So that's one of the things you want to be thinking about as you're planning. What can I get started with? Can I get there? Can I get there regularly? Is it going to be a problem? And you also want to have the support of those around you who get affected by it. So if I'm going to go take a run every afternoon or every other afternoon from a certain period of time, I want my wife to be on board with me doing that for a variety of reasons. For one thing, if she's supportive of me, she's going to be encouraging of it. If she's supportive of me, she's not going to ask me to go to the store instead. That people honor that space and honor your commitment, and you get their support. I think one of the things that's really important, when you get the support of someone who's important in your life, whether it's a spouse, a loved one, a neighbor, or a friend who might do something with you, you want to have a conversation about how can they support you? In what way is it okay for them to support you? If they're are they going to be coming after you saying, hey, it's 2:00, you're supposed to be taking your hike? Is that okay with you? Have you had that conversation? Do you want them to help give you a push? That's valid if they're good giving you a push and you've told them it's okay for them to give you a push. If that's part of the plan to get that activation energy, some of the energy might be supplied by somebody else. But you want it to be okay. Otherwise, it can turn into a battle, right? You're supposed to be exercising. I don't feel like it today, right? Back and forth, power struggles. We don't want power struggles. So to avoid the power struggle, it really helps to talk to the other person about how it's okay for them to support you. How hard should they push? Ultimately, it's up to the person to do it themselves. And if it's going to turn into a big power struggle, you got to figure out a different plan. You don't just push harder. But it's a good conversation to have, okay? Another thing here is it really is so important to have it regular, routine, habitual, and rewarding. Having something as a habit means it finds a place in your life. Having something as a habit means it takes a lot less effort to engage in it each time, okay? Having it rewarding, as we've said, obviously makes it something that you can be drawn toward, rather than pushed toward, And we know this will go back and forth from one day to the next, but it's something just to be keeping in mind. And you may not know what that is. I would certainly recommend, or if you leap into something and you love it, just stick with it. If you find, I really don't think this is for me, that's okay. Don't judge yourself about it, but do try to figure out what would work better. What might you enjoy? What else can you try? Be open to new things. I think if there's one thing in the Parkinson's thing that I always emphasize is you're going to have to step outside of your box as you go through Parkinson's. There may be activities that you can no longer do. You may not be able to play your instrument the same way. You may not be able to hit a golf ball. You may be able to do something else. But be open to putting other new things into the box that you haven't done. We're not used to doing that as older adults. We're used to having figured out what we really like as we go through life and then to continue doing it. And then if we start losing those things, it's just loss. But being willing to explore what other things, maybe can I redefine myself in certain ways, or what I do, or engage in volunteering, engage in, walking an animal, or engage in something else that wasn't something I used to do that's meaningful. We want to be able to find things to bring into our life, not just lose. In any case, So I'd also say be nice to yourself. Don't discount yourself. Don't discount your efforts or compare yourself to others who seem to be doing better. We will naturally do these things, but I would encourage trying to not go there. Try to give your credit. Like Finney always says, every victory counts. Every victory counts for you. If it's not something you were doing a week or a month ago, then it counts. If it's something you can't quite do the way you used to do it, but you're still working at it, it counts. We really want to work with that. We also tend to have a negative mind as part of this apathy thing. If I wake up in the morning and I think, gosh, it's kind of cold out there, do I feel like taking a run? The brain goes, no. The brain, I don't know, the brain somehow isn't always our best friend. It can try to dissuade us from things and talk us out of doing what we know would be a good thing to do. And so if you make it as automatic as possible so that you set things up so that you're not talking to your brain and asking your brain, do I want to do this? It's difficult to set it up this way. It's a good thing to do. Just if you have your stuff by the door and ready to go and you walk by it and you're going to stumble over it unless you go outside, it's like as soon as you hit it, you've already started going, and that's the important thing. That's really part of the routine is important. I'd also say exercise is not a moral issue. I think we get caught up in these issues like smoking became a moral issue once people were smoking. Whether you like smoking or not, that's not the point. It's not about a moral issue. Exercise, you're not, a bad person if you're not exercising, even if you have Parkinson's. You're just not doing everything you could for yourself, Like I said, if exercise wasn't good or bad for you, no one would even have the conversation. But somehow we tend to get caught up in judgment, and you'll get this judgment from the doctors or the other care providers. And I hate it when I hear a care partner being lectured that why aren't you getting your husband or your wife to do this? Like, let's guilt them, like they don't live with enough guilt to begin with, because no one's adequate to this task, completely. I don't think, we just do our best. So let's not get caught up in guilt about what we're doing. Let's try to refocus what's good for ourselves. It's not a moral issue. It's just a wellness and a quality of life issue. So I think those are most of the things here. So I think this is my last slide. So I really think involving others, I've already gone into this a little bit. Our loved ones, they can support, but they can't make us change. And we can't put that on them either. It has to come, ultimately, the desire has to come from the person with Parkinson's. And that's why I say it's important to talk about how they can support you and how it's okay. If you're a couple which is fine with getting badgered into doing something and it works for you, I'm not going to question that, but you want to know that that's what you're going to do. And it has to be okay. Work out with your care providers what you can commit to and how they can best support you and go from there. Communication, there's nothing that as important as communication, and how to do this. And really setting our expectations again at realistic levels, knowing that if we get something started, that's not the end of the whole plan. We can continue to build on it. We continue to develop and grow. So I think, it's important just to be on the same page. Group programs, like we said, have an advantage of fun, support, being part of a group. There's also people there that you don't want to let down, people there you might want to see. So, if you're going to be there, if you're not there, they're going to wonder where you are, how are you doing? There's things of that nature that can be motivating or help people get to some of those things. If you have a workout partner, let's say you're at a place where you take long or vigorous walks or something, be really careful. They can talk you into it or out of your activity, right? I say if you want to find a workout partner, I always find someone who's at least as motivated as you are, hopefully more. So that if you call them and say, I don't know, it's kind of a cold day, I'm not really feeling like it, say, well, maybe I'll just come by your place and see if we can't get going. Otherwise, if they call you and say, "Hey, I don't know, it's kind of I'm feeling kind of rotten this morning and kind of had a bad night. I'm tired," and you say, I wasn't really in the mood this morning either. Really double-edged sword. So be careful. When you find a workout partner, find someone who's going to be at least as motivated as you are. Just a tip, because I hear this all the time. And I was just going to make also the point that social interaction involving others promotes your wellness in and of itself. We know that it's a huge predictor of longevity, of wellness and health through the years. Social interaction is really critical, just like exercise. It's emotional exercise. I don't know how to say it, but it's really it makes a medical difference as well as just a quality of life difference that we experience. So I think actually that's what I have to say. I'm certainly open to any questions or comments.
Thank you so much. This is great. If you want to stop sharing your screen, then you can see everybody in gallery view. That might help
Okay.
you see if people are raising their hands, and we'll help you with that
Okay,
as
let
well.
me see. There we go.
If people have questions, they can put them in the chat or just raise your
Okay.
hand and wave and we'll unmute you.
All right, very well. So let's see. I see. Okay, I have gallery view, but I have to get it off speaker so I can see everybody. Okay, then it should work, I think.
Any questions from anyone?
Is there spotlight something? What's that doing? There's a remote spot.
We're still spotlighting you so everyone sees you.
Well, that means I'm huge, right?
Yes.
How do I make myself smaller so I can see other people? Because I can only see like 5 other people.
Okay, you can go into your gallery. So go up to your view.
Yeah, here's gallery. Okay, I'm here now. Okay, I was clicking here, but it wasn't reading my finger, I guess. Okay,
Great.
Any questions or comments?
I see.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, I see Nancy is coming.
Nancy's coming.
Nancy, did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say, I thought it was really nice and clear, and it certainly was a progression that I found about your circular chart. I related to every step there, and now I'm at maintenance.
Oh, good.
Helpful. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I have to go through all those steps of deciding everything has to be fun, or I'm not going to do it. And I'm trying to shake it up and do. Social is good.
Okay, Nancy went quiet.
Oh, it's hard to find people who will do the social things. I think if
I hear you now.
The social exercise part has been a little difficult for me because I want to find people who like polling, because I really love that. But I can't find anybody in my area. But hiking is wonderful. All those things are wonderful to do with other people. And I would love it if all of them were social.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you. That was really nice and clear. I appreciated having my pathway reinforced and remembering where I can go from where I am. Maintenance.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Nancy. How about advice on building new social connections? That's a question in the chat.
Well, okay, that's a interesting one. Of course, and it all depends on where you are located and what the opportunities are. Obviously, the first place to if you're looking at something specifically for Parkinson's, is looking what programs are in your area, and so I guess people who are here may be from all over the place, and so you could look at your local Parkinson's associations and look for recommendations about various programs, exercise programs, activities and dance. But outside of Parkinson's, I think, there are many different groups of different kinds that just for the social contact, not necessarily the exercise, but it could include the exercise, that people can join but haven't thought of. Clubs of various kinds, book clubs, people who meet up groups of different kinds. Depending on what's going on with your health and your mobility and all, you can engage in these things. I think one of the barriers to activities is to what degree a person is self-conscious about symptoms or having Parkinson's. And because I don't think we have to limit ourselves to socialization related to Parkinson's. You could take classes, for example, in things. There's also adult education classes and things, a whole new area, working with, painting or fishing. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we don't think about. There's like I said, adult education programs around, community college programs that you can engage and maybe just meet some people. There probably some senior centers and places have things that you can do, activities. You can do activities that help other people, volunteer, so say a cancer thrift shop, for example, or volunteer at an animal shelter where you basically pet animals. I mean, I can, I'm sitting here in my mind. We don't really, these are not things. This is what I was saying. These are not things we've thought about through our life because we haven't had to do it. We've had our lives full of things to do, but there are so many things out there. Community guides of activities and things. But you can talk to neighbors about what people are doing. You can listen to what people are doing. I don't know if that's enough of a clue, but one of the things that I do think is important if people are self-conscious is that it's true that if you come in and you have a walker, or say you have, tremors or something along these lines, a lot of people isolate themselves for those reasons. And it's also true that those around you, if you go to a new place, they'll notice it. They'll see it. I mean, there's people who work and they don't want to tell anyone they have Parkinson's when probably everyone around them can see what's happening with their leg or their arm, or, they know, they just kind of wonder, I mean, it's not necessarily how they define you, and you don't want to define yourself by a symptom, but they notice it. But what happens in most cases is that if you just tell them, my hand's shaking, I've got Parkinson's, you don't have to worry about it. It's no big deal. It's just something that happens. Usually people will take their cue, how to deal with you related to something like that, based on how you relate to yourself with something like that. If it's just something that's there, and this is all it is no big deal, no one has to worry about it, pretty soon they don't even notice it anymore, right? Because they know you as a person. But if we're hiding back, if we're sheepish and scared about it, they're the same way too. They can read that. So I think the more okay we can be with ourselves, the more okay other people are with us, however we are. And I really learned this a lot some years ago when I was working on a burn unit in Minnesota. And people had sometimes massive scarring and big problems. And some of them were out there living full lives and others were not. And the people who are living full lives just, I was in a gas fire and I don't recommend it, but once they get to know the person, they respond to you based on if I'm okay, relatively speaking, with how I am and who I am, they're more comfortable with me too. So I really encourage trying to work in that regard. You don't have to tell people your life story. They don't want to know it anyway. But as comfortable as you can be with yourself in a social situation, they know how to be responding to it. And it's it's an interesting one. So maybe that's all I'll say on that. There's another question. A friend and I, there's a chat.
There's a couple of comments. The next one is great talk. A lot of what you said I found reflected in the book, The Body Keeps the Score. That's from Craig.
Mhm.
And then Julian says, as a care partner, I think PD Connect fills many and most of the requirements from encouraging exercise, and we didn't tell him to say that. Yes. Yeah.
Hey.
One time we filled out a survey and somebody thought we filled it in about ourselves, and no, we didn't. But other comments here, a friend and I attended an intro workshop for improv theater in San Rafael. Even before Parkies, it would have been a major challenge. Might like to give it a try, but you know, I was just talking to Lisa. You guys could hang out with us, because the thing is, Lisa puts me outside of my comfort zone all the time. I'll look and she's gone and she's finding people to talk to. I don't know where she is. I'm often like, where do I go from here? And she comes over with friends that I didn't know we had. And I find it fascinating and I love it. So maybe you have a friend that is outspoken or loud or just very kind and has a good way of talking to others, and they can get you outside of that comfort zone in meeting new people. And it doesn't have to be someone with Parkinson's. Sometimes it's nice to have a nice core group of people with Parkinson's that you can talk about everything that's going on in your lives, but also it's nice to have people on the outside as well. Because then you can feel like you're living your everyday life just as you were before you had Parkinson's. I suggest that in any case, whether, anyway, it doesn't matter. But
that's not at all what you said. You said that they should just come and hang out with me. So
I did say
basically,
that.
what
I did say
she's
that. I
saying
think
is,
what I said.
I will come to your house, pick you up, put
Right.
you in the car, drive you around the block, show you some new scenery,
Yep.
and then you'll be in a better mood, and then we'll go for a walk or something like that.
Right.
In fact, if Steph is around as well, then we'll probably skip instead of walk.
Yes, I like to skip instead of walk. But that's the good, you know, sometimes, and for those of you who are driving, or those of you who have somebody who drives you around, often I get driven around town and I say, can you drop me here? I really want to go see what that event is. I'm going to go meet some people, and then I'm going to run home, or I'm going to walk home, or I'm going to find a bus and take it home and probably talk to all the people on the bus on the way home. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but those are another way to make friends. Remember, please don't do this at like 11 o'clock at night. It may not be safe. We're not saying go meet criminals. We're not saying that stuff. So please take everything we say with a grain of salt. But these are suggestions. Not everything that we say, mostly what I say. Lisa thinks she's always right. So another comment here, I found that joining up with a specialized PD class gives me an opportunity to interact with fellow PD people and also learn a lot of cute techniques I can incorporate into daily routines. Great insights. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, this is great. Good, all good things. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Well, one thing that has come up that we see a lot is when people say, gosh, you know, I used to golf, I used to play the guitar, and you already commented about this and kind of how people focus on the loss. And can you just go into that a little bit more? You had mentioned about, you know, adding something instead of focusing on the loss, but I guess people also have to process that loss.
Do you mean like if you're somebody who is already active, really good at running or really good at exercising, or
playing
guitar,
they might have
any of those things, and now that thing has
they
changed?
loved cooking, and now it
because
takes
of
a
their
really
Parkinson's,
long
yeah.
time to cook and
Right.
prepare meals or anything.
Right.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess there's two parts of what you're talking about. One is dealing with the kind of the grief and loss of not being able to do something that really has mattered and has been important. And so I'm not wanting to just, I'm not wanting to dismiss that at all or make light of that. You know, there is a grief process to loss and to loss of things that matter. And so we want to kind of honor that, and we can recommend it. It's just that how do we then continue to live? You know, what do we do? You know, and we can either we can always acknowledge and recognize the loss. Man, I used to love doing this, and damn, I wish I could, you know, anymore. You know, I have my memories, whatever, but I'll always miss doing that. But then you can't bathe in that. You can't just live in that, you know. So then the question is, okay, how do I move forward? Is there anything else? What else can I bring into my life? Can I contribute? Again, contributing to others is also a really valuable thing. Reading to kids, or maybe going to a library, teaching English. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can do that you bring into your life. And I guess I'm just saying that it's part of moving through grief is moving to another stage or moving to another place in life. And in this case, it's what else can you bring in? And it may be something you never thought of or never tried before, you know? I mean, there's model railroad clubs in Grass Valley or whatever, and in Walnut Creek and stuff. I mean, you get to hang out there and you see how they do it. I mean, there's so many things out there, but we just aren't aware of them or thinking about them, or we don't know that it's for us. But you don't know if it's for us until you kind of give it a shot or explore or find somebody that has an interest that you haven't had or don't know about. I know in the past, at least, libraries would have volunteer opportunities if people are at a place where they can do that, and you can just look and see who needs what. And you accomplish again the dual goals of socialization and feeling useful and actually being useful, which matters. Anyway, is that enough for now? I'm not sure. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Someone else said, enjoyed your presentation. Cycle with relapse as a stage is helpful. Thank you. We thank you so much for your time. This has been a great presentation. And Lisa, what were you going to say?
Well, I just really appreciate too, that this is real stuff. It's real. It's not talking about synapses and neurotransmitters and all those things
which are also real.
Which are also real.
But
people
hard to apply to everyday life.
People.
Apparently she's stuck on repeat.
People.
Sorry. Yeah.
And we're not just neurons and synapses.
That's correct. Right. I mean, we are made of those things, but thank you so much, Dr. Egli, for great presentation, easy to follow, said Susanna #1. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you who don't know who we are, we're PD Connect. We mentioned that in the beginning, but we teach exercise and education for people with Parkinson's. Our sign is right there, half cut off. But we teach exercise, and we've probably come to a place near you. So please, if you haven't met us yet, we'd love to meet you. Call Lisa. It's 415
No.
644-77. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon. Why do you always say no? I give her phone number everywhere I go. Thank you for joining us,
We
Dr.
appreciate you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Again.